Afternoon, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm on the road again, so I have a few things to talk to y'all about. A few things that have been on my mind, and just kind of throughout the day today, just kind of spitballing and listening to a few things, reading a few things when I can. And I got some information, I don't know, yesterday, day before, can't remember exactly, that unfortunately I can't share publicly because I was asked specifically not to, because it's information that probably shouldn't have been shared with me. So I don't want to get anybody in trouble, have them lose their job, get called on the carpet, whatever else. But it has to do with the global economy and shipping and so forth. I'll get into that in a little bit. But a couple of things have come to my mind lately. I didn't have a title for this at first, but I think I do now. And you can't use the K word apparently, because that's like triggering and offensive and negative and whatnot, meaning the word that means unalive. I guess you can say unalive, but from what I've heard, if people say that word, they'll flag your videos or your channel or whatever, might take it down, whatever, I don't know, give you a strike, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what they'll do in the dictatorship, in the tyrannical dictatorship that we live in now, right? Seriously, though. So I'm calling this Don't Unalive the King's Deer, okay? Because this is what this is starting to remind me of pretty much on a daily basis. This is what this is all starting to remind me of. The Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood. If you're familiar with the book, I'm sure you've seen the movies, whether it's like the original or the umpteen million they made since that time. I like the one with Russell Crowe. I thought that one was pretty good. Came out in like 2010 or whatever. The one with Costner back in the 90s that everybody was like, goo goo gaga over kind of thing. I mean, like whatever. But I thought the one with Russell Crowe that came out like 2010, directed by Ridley Scott, I thought that was a pretty good movie. I really did. I thought that was probably a little more historically accurate or what have you. But it all goes back to the same thing, though. You can't unalive the king's deer, even if you're starving. Okay? So no matter what's going on, in the forest, you live in the forest or outside the forest or whatever, you can't hunt, because even if you and your family are starving, because that belongs to the king, even though he has more than enough, and should give to the people and should help the people and should be a merciful and gracious king. Well, nobody forces them to, so they're not going to, and they're just going to keep giving it to their rich friends, and have their feast, while the poor eat hand to mouth, like in the song, I've Gone Hungry, or Hunger Strike, excuse me, came out like in the 90s, I've gone hungry, and the poor, they feed from hand to mouth, and the rich, they just keep getting the best feast. Doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. It really doesn't matter, So you can't unalive the king's deer. And the other thing it reminds me of is the Hunger Games. We're not to that point yet, thank the good Lord. But if people have seen the movie, the Hunger Games trilogy, I guess it was. Maybe there was 4 of them. I can't remember. I think there's 4 of them. I think they split the last one up into 2 movies. But anyway, regardless, the books, a lot of kids read in high school or whatever, several years back. Suzanne Collins, I think, was the author. The Hunger Games, right? Well, starting to remind me of the dude in charge, man. It's starting to remind me of President Snow from the Hunger Games, who in the movie was played by Donald Sutherland. And it's kind of interesting because I heard an interview with Donald Sutherland several years before he died, and they talked to him about the Hunger Games and his character of President Snow, the evil tyrannical dictator, in charge of the districts and whatnot. And he literally said, this is Donald Sutherland, he literally said that the Hunger Games was an allegory for the United States. He literally said that. And I don't know how many years ago that was. People can look up the interview or whatever if you want for yourself. Maybe I'll try to find this later or whatever if I think about it. But just stuff just kind of swimming in my head, because I'm listening to Gregory Mannarino and some other things earlier today. And I'm reminded that it seems like every day is like insider trading, you know, like the unjust balances. Like the rich get richer, the poor get poor, and they can never get enough. Case in point, found out, heard it before, forgot about it. Certain dates come and go. You're like, oh yeah, that executive order went into effect. I actually call them decrees. That decree went into effect, or this decree went into effect. Oh yeah, well the decree that I'm going to talk about is the one that has to do with people paying back their student loans. That decree is in effect now, to the point where I didn't know this. I learned it, and then I shared it with my son, because he has a student loan, like I'm sure a lot of your adult children may, or grandchildren, or what have you, or maybe you do yourself. Well, they're so serious about getting their money back from the student loans because, you know, hey, nobody's going to give anybody anything for free, right? Especially the government, right? It doesn't exist, right? So they want that money back that allowed people to get whatever education or training or whatever else they could get, so they could go, you know, work at McDonald's because they can't find a job in their chosen profession, you know. Okay, well, let's be real. Okay, people have all these degrees and they can't find jobs for whatever the degree is for, right? But that doesn't matter. They still want that money back. They're demanding it, as a matter of fact. So if people don't pay it back, I asked my son, because this isn't a word you hear every day, so I called him up and I asked him, I said, do you know what the word garnishment means? He's like, no, I don't think so. Fair enough. It's not a word people hear all the time. So I explained it to him, because that's what they're talking about. They're talking about garnishment of wages if people don't pay their student loans back. And how much wages? I don't know. I didn't even take the whole check. I have no idea. But they plan to, or they can, garnish people's wages if they refuse to begin to pay back their student loan, or don't make payments, or whatever else. Whatever the agreement is that's made, I don't know. I don't really care all that much. I'm so sick of the tyranny. I'm so sick of the unjust balances. I'm so sick of the dictatorship. I don't even really care that much. I just gotta live every day and then pay attention to what's going on. And if it's important enough and I can see how it affects, you know, my family, myself, you know, people I care about, or you all, or what have you, then I might say something about it eventually. But I was like, dude, they're gonna garnish your wages, man. Because, oh, I plan to pay on it today. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you know, people, yeah. And I understand you have to pay your debts. I get that. But again, it's unjust balances, because there are people that will never be able to get out of debt. I mean, unless there's some kind of divine intervention or something of that nature, they just won't. They are swimming in debt, actually say drowning in debt, because of student loans, because of mortgages, because of living high on the hog too long, credit card debt, you name it, you know. And I understand we're supposed to pay back our debts. I get that. Okay, the government wants their money back. I get it. But I'm like, man, you know, it's like, I was joking with somebody earlier. You know what something to celebrate is? Not this 100 days garbage, or not liberation of America, or whatever they called that. That was a bunch of crap. No, if they ever abolish the idiotic reprobate service, okay, you know what I'm talking about here, right? You know, if they ever abolish that, or the Fed, or whatever, now that's something to celebrate, okay? Because then you truly are giving the government back to the people, and then, you know, people can actually afford to live, and they can afford their, you know, to pay their bills and whatnot, right? But no, it's never enough. Like, if you don't mind your P's and Q's pretty much the whole year, and you don't do what you're supposed to do, play your cards right, you could be paying taxes the whole year, but you're still going to have to pay more when it comes to filing taxes at the end of the year, right? If you don't play your cards right, you might get a refund, but it definitely won't be as much as you've been paying out the whole year, right? So I'm just thinking about all this stuff, you know? I mean, I know I've harped on this a lot, but now it's a little different because it's like there's a decree now that people have to pay back their student loans. In the meanwhile, people can engage in insider trading, and they can engage in all kinds of other unscrupulous acts, and, you know, to put the screws to the people and to make it impossible to live while they still live high on the hog, you know, making all the rules, you know, in their mind, those who have the gold makes the rules, you know. So they continue to make all the rules to punish us and then make sure that we can never get ahead, right? And I'm just thinking about all this, and I'm just like, man, this is like, we're like living the 1987 movie Wall Street. See, I've been watching some things over the last several weeks. I really haven't shared with anybody. I've kind of been doing my own research, watching some things. And I'd never seen that movie. I'd always heard about it, but I'd never seen it. Because I was, you know, it came out like 1987. I was 17 years old at the time, you know. Barely old enough to see an R-rated movie. So, I mean, but I watched it, and I'm like, man, this is a really good movie. I didn't realize how good that movie was. And so unbelievably prophetic for today. And I really like the way it ended, though. I don't think I'm ruining anything for anybody. If I am, whatever. Sorry. But I really like the way it ended because the guy, Bud Fox, you know, played by Charlie Sheen, and actually his real-life dad, Martin Sheen, is his dad in the film, too. Well, Bud is working for a scumbag, and it finally comes back to bite him. You know, Gordon Gekko, played by Michael Douglas there, it finally comes back to bite him. And his dad's warning him the whole time. He's like, man, son, you're biting off more than you can chew. You need to just get an honest job and stop with this investment stuff. And you're getting ahead of yourself, and you're gonna pay. And that's exactly what he told him. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. People engaging in unscrupulous acts, and, you know, the SEC begins to investigate. People start going down. And then his son, at the end of the film, you know, he's got his court date. You know, he's got to go in and he's got to stand before the judge. His dad's like, and he says, well, I'm probably going to go to jail. His dad's like, yeah, you might. Not very sympathetic at that time, because he's been telling them the whole time. He's like, you can't do this. You know, just get an honest job. Work an honest job. You know, nothing wrong with hard blue collar work, or even honest white collar work, or whatever. But what you're doing here, it's going to bite you in the butt. And it did. And then I stomached as much as I could. Fast forwarded through a lot of it, because this is a vile movie. I mean, very vile. But I started watching The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh my gosh. Supposedly the semi-biographical story of Jordan Belfort. And I did not know who Jordan Belfort was, nor did I care, till like around 2013, where I actually met somebody who worked for Jordan Belfort. As a matter of fact, they bragged about it. And it was interesting at the time, because I was an operations supervisor for a Fortune 500 security company at the time. Really, really good job. This is about 12 years ago, until it wasn't. But at the time, one of my jobs was to hire new security officers to fill our posts. And I was willing, the business was willing to give people a chance. Even if they didn't have a lot of security experience, if they were willing to be trained, and if they were willing to follow directions, heck, even showing up for the job. I mean, that's like halfway there, right? So anyway, so this guy's telling me about Jordan Belfort, basically in the interview. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But he's kind of telling me, and he's like, I say, he's bragging about it. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, dude. Well, this is security, okay? We're not in the Wall Street. We're not in the stock market, you know. And once I got him to understand that, I decided to give him a chance. Should I have? I don't know. Because he wound up getting robbed at gunpoint. And I felt really, really bad about that. I really, really did. Because he was probably put in a position that he shouldn't have been put in. We didn't necessarily try to put him in that position, but you just never know. I mean, you just never know. There are no safe places to work, okay? It wasn't exactly the ghetto. It wasn't the slum or anything of that nature, but it was in an area, like a tourist area. And he was on the night shift, and bad things happened. He was working hotel security, and he was at the desk, and the dude wanted to come in and rob the place, and held him at gunpoint, you know, and really scared the crap out of him, quite honestly. I felt really bad. And matter of fact, I, you know, spent a lot of time with him and started teaching him some self-defense and so forth after the fact, because I felt bad for him, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But he wound up quitting, and totally understandable. Very traumatic experience to get robbed at gunpoint, you know, have somebody stick a gun in your face and you not know what to do about it. So, but I always remembered the Jordan Belfort thing. And I was like, okay, now I know who this guy is. Man, another scumbag, okay? Okay? I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, how many of these people have we heard about over the years? Bernie Madoff, Jordan Belfort. And now the current regime has all of them. Not saying those names, but the exact same kind of people. Don't take my word for it. Listen to Gregory Mannarino or, I don't know, some other people that knows what's going on. The Market Watch blog. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Epic Economist or what have you. Michael Snyder's articles, Substacks, whatever. I mean, it's everywhere where people are engaging in unscrupulous acts, and they're getting away with it all the time because they're being protected, because they're within the government, they're within the system, they're in the cabinet, okay? They're being protected by President Snow. All right? So I'm telling people about all of this because it appears that the things I've been talking about is being confirmed now, at least from a few different sites. One of them, I shared a few things on the post yesterday, shared a few more today. Some of it humorous, some of it not. But Riverside Homestead Life, that guy Cohen, he read an article where it sounds like that May 10th, so this weekend, Mother's Day weekend, you know, people are going to start to see empty shelves, or at least start to feel the crunch to a certain extent, or maybe notice some things they didn't notice before. Higher prices, you know, things just not as available. And then over like the next, I guess, 30 to 60 days, it's going to really hurt. And I'm not the one saying all that. You research it yourself. Some of the things I shared to the post have over the last few days, especially yesterday, a little bit today. Look it up for yourself. Research it yourself. It's going to hurt. And even if they begin to negotiate, which I don't know if they are or not, with reducing the tariffs or whatnot, the damage has been done. It's going to take a long time for people to, if ever, to kind of catch their breath on these things. So, like I suggested before, you know, since the majority of our stuff comes from other nations, okay, let's put it that way, specifically one of the superpowers of the world, you know, regarding clothing, shoes, electronics, I don't know, lots of stuff. Look it up for yourself. A lot of stuff, okay? And it doesn't appear that all of a sudden it's going to get fixed. Even if they begin to negotiate, you know, like they brag about doing, you know, oh yeah, we made this deal, made that deal, blah, blah, blah. Well, the report I got that I can't share, I was told I could talk about it, but I can't share it. As a matter of fact, I haven't shared it with anybody. As a matter of fact, nobody even knows that I got this report, except for the person that sent it to me. It's a 19-page report. It did not originate in the U.S. It originated throughout some of the most, how do I say it, wealthiest countries of the world, okay? Where they have done this report that shows the fate of the global and the state, kind of a Freudian slip, but not really, the state of the global economy, since everything is globally connected. And all I can say is we're screwed. I don't know how else to say it. We're screwed. We are not only not the number one economic superpower in the world any longer, right, if we ever were. We're not even number two. Okay? All right. We're screwed. All right. We are not as powerful and strong as we think we are. Not militarily, not economically, not in any way. You got to remember, this is Babylon. Babylon eventually falls. So it's powerful, but we're not as powerful as we think we are. Like I said, we're not even number two on the list, okay? I mean, and it's a 19-page report that I'm looking at, and I was like, wow, we are really screwed. I mean, there are countries doing better than us. People will say, well, why that is? Hey, that's all up for speculation. But the bottom line is, they are. And we don't manufacture hardly anything. We don't produce hardly anything. So we are always behind the eight ball. Always dependent upon other nations of the world for our imports. And people know the ports are, there's not that much coming in or what have you. Way down, significantly down. And it's only going to get worse. Like I said, even if they start to negotiate, even if they start to talk, it's going to take a long time. So, get what you need to get while you can still get it, while it's still available, while it's still affordable. I had some personal experience with this a while back. I was working for Michelin through a contractor company, and it didn't last that long. And what can I say? Tires were not coming in. They got stuck at port, stuck in customs. And the reason I got hired is because I have a pretty steady hand, and I was there to touch up and do detail on the tires, on the rims, the wheels, whatnot. And ran out of work, man. There were days, just to stay busy, you just pick up a broom and sweep all day. Now, it's like, I mean, I'm not too good to sweep, I'm not too good to do anything, but at the same time, that's not what I got hired for, and that's not exactly fun, okay? And it gets old really fast, just sweeping a warehouse all day long. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can make the place look spick and span, but you take pride in your work, but it gets old pretty quick, especially when you're hired to do something else. So I saw it happening way before Liberation Day or whatever, and way before we had the what was it, the trade war, and hiking up tariffs on the world, declaring a trade war on the world, a tariff war. I saw it happening before that because I was feeling it. I mean, and other people were too, depending upon whatever industry they were working in or whatever job. So, hey, when I saw that a lot of the tires are coming from Sri Lanka, and when I saw that there was going to be tariffs put on Sri Lanka, I'm like, game over. That's it. Thank you for playing. I mean, because I knew where a lot of this stuff was coming from. And if it was getting stuck in port, at customs, or whatever, and it wasn't coming in, there's no work. See, this is what people got to think about. There's going to be mass layoffs. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week or anything, but it's going to happen. It is coming, and it's probably coming sooner than a lot of people think. But you got to think about this too. 80% of the pharmaceuticals, I hit on this a lot because I'm very concerned about the people addicted to so many different things, and if they can no longer get them, how they're going to respond and react to that. Because 80% of our pharmaceuticals come from the dragon country. 80%. What do you think is going to happen if they can't come up with some type of agreement? And even if they do, the damage has already been done for a while here. What do you think is going to happen? This is what people got to think about. This is what they got to prepare for. Right now, it might look okay. It's like, I can still go to the pharmacy. I can still get this. I can still go to CVS, Walgreens, whatever. Can't go to Rite Aid. Rite Aid's declaring bankruptcy. There was 2 other companies. Big Lots was one of them. I guess they declared it, and then they're coming out of it, and so they're trying to start all over again. Big Lots. And there was another big company. I can't remember the name of it right now, which was doing the same thing. So, what can I say? It's here. You know, thank you, President Snow. You know, Sheriff of Nottingham, whatever. You know, you can't unalive the king's deer. It doesn't matter if you're starving or not. They don't have any mercy. They don't have any sympathy. They don't have any compassion. They don't have any understanding. You know, they can't even fathom or begin to understand the pain that a lot of people live in, economically speaking, as well as physically or whatever else, and don't want to. That's why they're elites. They consider themselves higher, better, stronger, faster. You know, like I said, the one with the gold makes the rules, or those with the gold makes the rules. We're bottom dwellers, man. We're pariahs. We're lepers of society. You know, in their mindset. So, anyway, that's about all I have. But yeah, start paying off your student loan if you have one, unless you want your wages garnished. That would suck, man. Because like my son, he works really hard. I'm sure, you know, your adult children might, or grandchildren or whatever, or you if you're still in the workforce. The last thing you want is to have the government, the gooberman or whatever, take anything more than they should already take out of our you know, for taxes, you know, for Social Security that I know that I'll never see, you know, or whatever else, you know, that they decide that they want to, I don't know, they want to charge. Oh, that reminds me, I got in the mail the registrations due on the car. This is crazy, man. 29 or was it 27? I think it's like 29, 27, something like that. Dollars for the registration, you know, itself, but $50 for a county fee. Really? For what? For what? So that's what they want for the county fee, you know, to register your vehicle. So only, you know, 20-something dollars for new decals, for new tags, right? But then $50 for a county fee. Highway robbery, man. It's criminal. Anyway, don't even get me started anymore than I already have been. It's almost 30 minutes in, so I think I'm going to go ahead and go. Y'all have a good one. Take care. God bless. Check out the posts if you want. Like I said, shared quite a few videos from different people on there. I'm not the only one talking about this, not by a long shot. Some people are doing a much, much better job than I am. Much more detail. Have all kinds of stuff on the screen, articles, read the articles to you, you know, and all this stuff. Me, man, I just talk as I'm driving. I don't have anything to show you except on my post. So, but people do their own homework and research as always. Check it out for yourself. All right, y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.